In this section, we're going to talk about the use of interfaces in Go. The first thing we're going to talk about is concrete and dynamic types. The concrete type of something is what its actual type is. What kind of struct or primitive is it? Its dynamic type is which interface it is being used as at the moment. We'll start with a function that writes a text message to a file. We're going to properly handle this error instead of just doing a log fatal and blowing up, because generally you don't want programs to just die in the middle. And now in our main function, we're going to write a file to our temp directory and then send that file to the write message function. And we can see that our write message function wrote to a file. So let's make this a little more fun and add a web server to the mix. Now just a little bit more we have to add to our main. So now any incoming requests to the server will be directed to the index function, and then we're going to start the server. Now we can see our message, but what if we want to see the same message that we're having written to the command line? Our function takes an os.file, but our writer in our web server is an http.response writer. Fortunately, we can use an io.writer. It's an interface for anything that implements a write method that accepts a slice of byte and returns an integer and an error. The integer is how many bytes were written. The os.file is an IO writer, so we can just replace it here in the function signature. Now, no other changes are required to the write message function. We can just send w, which is a response writer, right into this function because it's also an io.writer. And now we see our new message coming from the web server. We have been negligent here in that we have not been closing the os.file that we've been opening. However, our function takes an io.writer, and an io.writer doesn't have any methods besides write, so it can't be closed. The IO package also has a closer interface, and because our file is actually an os.file, which does have read, write, close, and other methods, it is an IO closer. That means we can use a type assertion to take our os.file, which is pretending to only be a writer, and convert it into a closer. So when we run it with the os.file, we can see that it did close the file. And looking back at the output of our web server, it did not close the response writer because it is not a closer, and demonstrates the importance of checking the second value of a type assertion to make sure that it was successful.